Herb. Herb is a plant. I mean, herbs are good for everything. Herb.
Good evening. You made it to the Eugene Cannabis TV show. The summer is coming to an end, but harvest time is around the corner, so we're looking forward to the harvest time, of course. And remember, if you need some official endorsement of your product, be sure and get a hold of Dank Bagman so he can come by and test your product. Now, it's free service that's offered, so get a hold of Dank Bagman at eugenecannabistv.org. So we want to talk about some local issues here. I was at the Oregon State Fair helping out on the I-74 initiative, and it's already going to be on the ballot, but we're educating voters and encouraging people to register to vote and have their family and friends to be sure and register to vote. So, but this is something that happened, I've forgotten what day it was, but we had one of our main petition signature gatherers out there at the Oregon State Fair, and the head of security for the Oregon State Fair threatened him with arrest for lawfully petitioning and registering voters outside the gates of the Oregon State Fair. So this is something I experienced myself. I was registering voters and gathering signatures for the OMMP out in front of the gates of the Lane County Fair in 1997. Same problem. We were fighting security. Security trying to tell us we couldn't be there, and I talked to the fair director, and that's when things started changing a little bit. He recognized, in fact, he said, that was Mike Gleason at the time. He said, I recognize that you have a right to be here, so we need to work together on this. So we worked together, and but the thing is, it's just an illustration how you got to stand up for your rights. I like to say that your rights are like a muscle. If you don't use them, you're going to lose them. So this will be interesting to see if anything becomes of this. The person, was Billy Kyle Lacasio, was saying that we are following the rules. We are exercising our free speech rights as American citizens, and we will not be bullied by overzealous security employees who disagree with our issue. The State Fair is an important public event, and our right to engage our fellow Oregonians here is protected by the U.S. Constitution. The State Fair has published rules for people doing political work at the fair gates, and we are following the rules to the letter, said John Sajo, the Director of Regulate Medical Marijuana. We will not be intimidated. So also, I was gathering signatures for the legalization initiative at the old Filbert Festival a number of years ago, and the same thing. They tried to run myself and a colleague off for gathering signatures at the gate. The mayor at the time, well, let me back up a minute. I had a lady come up and ragging on me, telling me we didn't have a right to be there, and then it dawned on me that she was apparently inebriated. Then the guy came up and said, "What's the matter, honey?" And it turned out to be her husband, who happened to be Morissette, John Morissette. So the politician out of Springfield, he was the mayor at the time. So anyway, he tried to tell us that he wasn't sure if we had the right to be there or not. But anyway, we finished the evening out, and no more harassment, but it made for an interesting time. So being a political activist can be trying, but you have to stick with your guns, and it's a good fight. There's a story here that was I picked up off the internet. This is something that I've met this person a couple of times at different events. They've developed a rating system for medical marijuana, and it's a scale, so that if everybody uses the same scale, then it can be very beneficial to everybody. And it's really interesting. It's called M Research, obviously, I guess M for marijuana, but well, like it says here, it says the issue is not only it's a public health issue that many states want to address. it's only a matter of time before the federal government will have to address it. In other words, addressing what strains will do what, that kind of thing. That's been one of the criticisms, is that we don't have documented evidence or guides as to what different strains of medical marijuana will do. So this will go a long ways towards helping that out. And I didn't bring the card in with me, but we picked up a card that shows the different deals. So again, send an email to Dank Bagman at EugeneCannabisTV.org, and I can send you a copy of this article, or in the website if you want the information on it. But it's a good deal, and I think that really is going to help giving it more credibility. So the next week we'll have a report on the National Normal Conference in Portland, and also the Hemp Fest up there. So I'll be reporting on that next time. The rest of the show right now, just the rest of my segment here, what I wanted to talk about is safety. I'm an ex-truck driver. I drove truck ever since I was just out of high school, started driving log truck. I drove log truck all over. I drove highway, back on the highway, back to log trucks. But anyway, there's a lot of things I learned as a truck driver and also as a cannabis user, and there's just a lot of tips that I've thought about over the years, and I've mentioned a few of them before, but I wanted to kind of pull them together and maybe add some new ones. The main thing is you need to be aware of your situation all the time. Keep checking your mirror. If you see a cop behind you, don't panic. Don't start turning over your shoulder. Don't, make sure your people in your car all aren't looking back. That's nothing worse than make it look suspicious and everybody starts staring. But at the same time, use your head because that officer's looking at you, and there's a possibility of saying about pulling you over. If you've got something that's in your lap, if you've got a pipe in your hand or whatever it is, keep it low and do something with it, but don't move the upper part of your body. If you start seeing the upper part of your body moving around, they know you're stashing something, then they really want to pull you over. So you just got to use your head and don't panic. It's like any other situation, and you don't panic. Excuse me. And of course, the thing is, if you do get pulled over, never consent to a search. That's rule number one. Never consent to a search. Our attorneys tell us that if you consent to a search and they find something, then you're a dead duck. There's nothing they can do for you. But if you don't consent to a search and they search anyway and then find something, then the attorney has something to work with. So always keep that in mind. When you're transporting, some say never transport. Well, obviously you got to transport at some point. Use the baking bags. They're made by Reynolds. They're in a blue package. You can buy them anywhere where they sell, in the grocery store where they sell baggies. They're actually, I think they're called oven bags. Those bags, if you put your substance in those bags, give them a twist, you will not smell it. I'm not saying it'll defeat a dog, but it will definitely, you won't have the car smelling like you just ran over a skunk. And if the cop smells that, he will definitely question you. I've been stopped twice, told that they smelled marijuana. They want to know if I had a card. I said I did. I showed it to them, and they went away happy. But if you don't have a card, that could be a problem. So that's why prevention is much, much better. Learn to know what the cops, most of the cops are driving Fords. They're Ford Crown Victoria. So all the parking lights are really easy to remember. There's parking lights on both sides of the headlights. The ones on the inside of the headlights are a little bit bigger and a little bit brighter. But just learn to know when you see a cop at night, and then just remember what the headlights look like. So if you see it behind you, you have an idea that it might be a cop. The next thing is check the roof line. Even in the dark and at night, you can do that. You just glance up now and then and look at the roof line of the car behind you and look at the street lights behind. And it may be a ski rack would freak you out. That happens. But again, just be aware of what's around you. And remember, this is a war on drugs. The government has called it a war on drugs. So therefore, if you have any kind of drugs, then the war is on you. So plan your life accordingly and be cautious. Let's see, yes, like I said, the main thing is never consent to a search. Don't be stupid. How many times have we heard stories about how somebody was speeding, they got pulled over and ended up, they found, pounds and pounds in the car. if you're going to do something illegal, only do it one at a time. You know, don't be speeding where you're uninsured and suspended license when you got 5 pounds in the trunk. I mean, that's common sense to tell you that, but yet it happens all the time. So just use your head, because like I said, this is a war on drugs, this is a war on you, and law enforcement has proven the way they're attacking the medical marijuana program that they're not your friend. So just live accordingly. Another thing about driving safety in general, well, I'll have to continue this later. I'll run out of time in this segment, but I'll give you some more tips on driving, especially cost crunchy and some things to look out for, and just some good tips overall. So, Dank, this is Dank, and I'm glad you had spent some time listening to what I had to say, and next time I'll have some more, and check out what other things we have for you in this program. Thank you.
You don't have anything to hide, do you?
No, officer. Well, I don't consent to any searches, sir.
This could be one of the most important lines you may ever have to deliver in your entire life.
I don't consent to any searches, sir.
Darrell remains courteous, but is not intimidated by this all-too-common tactic.
If the dogs find anything you're not supposed to have, I'm going to throw your ass in a jail cell overnight with some very bad men who would love to do some very bad things to two skinny boys like you two. Do you understand your choice?
Your rights do not disappear just because an officer threatens to call in the dogs. And refusing a search does not give the officer the legal right to search or detain you.
The best and the only way to win in a knock and talk situation is to never, ever, ever open your door for the police. Just as you're under no obligation to allow any citizen into your home, you're under no obligation to open the door for the cops. If the police had a legal right to be in your home, they wouldn't be knocking, they would be kicking. They would kick the door in and raid your house with a search warrant. The mere fact that they're knocking on your door tells you they don't have a right to be in your home, so don't open the door for them. If you hear a knock at your door and upon investigating, you notice it's the police, if your door is not locked, go ahead and lock it right then. I don't open the door for police. If you need to talk to me, have your dispatcher call my cell phone, or we can yell through the window like this. If you have a search warrant, here are my hands, kick the door in.
And now a message from the American Marijuana Growers Association.
Hi, I'm a farmer, and I work hard every day to grow high-quality marijuana, the biggest cash crop in these United States. I'd like to thank you for your support of U.S. marijuana policy. Because marijuana is illegal, I don't have to pay taxes. Even better, prohibition leads to artificially inflated prices, which means a better quality of life for me and my family, as long as I don't get caught. Just as importantly, your tax dollars support thousands of U.S. agents who work tirelessly to keep low-grade, foreign marijuana out of our country. So thank you, America. And remember, whether you're nauseated from chemotherapy or just in the mood for a nice cool buzz, choose the best pot in the world, American homegrown.
The war on drugs is taking on a different tone in California these days. There's a campaign to convince people that the recreational use of marijuana should be legal. Currently, it's okay to smoke pot for medicinal use. The CBC's Keith Bogue now on the controversy.
Kush is marijuana, and yes, marijuana is still an illegal drug in the United States, even though you wouldn't know it here at Los Angeles' Venice Beach.
Have a talk with the doctor.
California legalized marijuana for personal medicinal purposes in 1996. What that's led to here is open competition among retailers to lure passers-by into a doctor's office for a marijuana referral, something you can get simply by complaining of stress or a bad night's sleep. Then it's on to the store to begin ringing up the drug sales.
Right inside.
Now Californians are being asked through a referendum whether they want to go all the way and legalize marijuana so that it can be sold and taxed in the way that alcohol is sold and taxed across most of North America. And they may just go for it. Or they may say they like things just how they are, although it's not entirely clear just how things are with marijuana in California right now.
Sure, stroll down the Venice boardwalk, you'd swear pot is already legal. The marketing and selling goes on in full view of the LAPD, even though everyone knows the doctor's referral bid is only a fig leaf. But a few blocks away, federal drug enforcement officers recently raided a medical marijuana shop and arrested its owner, Jeff Joseph, who was running a relatively low-key medical marijuana business.
But your place, when it was operating, was nothing like the places in Venice Beach.
Nothing.
Where they have the signs outside.
Nothing.
Telling people
low-key. We're very discreet. Very discreet. We just had a lot of medicine. We had all the different strains of medicine for the different ailments.
Why Jeff Joseph and not the more flagrant operators on Venice Beach? Los Angeles District Attorney Steve Cooley says there's no double standard.
Why him, not them?
Well, maybe them. Maybe they're next. We are trying to target, law enforcement trying to target the worst offenders, the most egregious offenders, those who are probably dealing in other forms of cannabis.
Cooley says what's happened across California is a gross and dangerous misunderstanding of Proposition 215, the proposition that legalized medicinal marijuana. Prop 215 did not make marijuana a legitimate for-profit business opportunity, despite the fact there are now hundreds of pot shops operating in California.
The courts have ruled it's illegal. Illegal. We've gotten clear definition from our Supreme Court, from local courts, and those individuals who are engaged in this business thinking, hey, it's okay, that's under Prop 215, they're making a huge mistake. They're making a mistake with their freedom, and the people they employ, they're making a mistake with their freedom.
Law is one thing, reality is another. The reality is that marijuana has already moved from the underground into the public space of California. Nothing says that better than Oaksterdam University, with campuses in Oakland, Los Angeles, and Sebastopol, California.
Every city is struggling with regulating.
Oaksterdam is a cannabis trade school. Clever locals claim it's been putting the high back in higher education since 2007. The school is the creation of Richard Lee, a marijuana user and activist for some 20 years.
So we start off with the politics, and then we move on to cannabis horticulture, learning how to grow it, cooking. So you learn how to cook with it, hash making, and bud tending, management, starting a business. You know, we try to cover all the things people need to know to get into the cannabis industry.
Students here anticipate marijuana will grow into a thriving sector of the legitimate economy. Derek is planning a delivery business.
You're delivering pot, but also paraphernalia, whatever else you need.
Correct. Any type of edibles or teas or anything like that.
Tina is learning to bake with cannabis and might seek a business partner.
I want to be in with someone else or work for someone else, you know, and so I'm interested in that. But I'm definitely interested in growing my own. Definitely.
Oaksterdam has graduated thousands of students with diplomas in pot.
Oaksterdam University.
Like every class since the school was founded.
Most of them, you know, I haven't gone back and counted, but this is quite a few of them.
Dale Clare is the chancellor of Oaksterdam, but also the spokesperson for the campaign to legalize, regulate, and tax cannabis.
The overall concern of most folks in California is, what is this going to look like? And any time you don't know, it creates fear.
If it's going to look like Venice Beach, legalization is probably not going to appeal to mainstream California.
Moms, parents, I think if they look at Venice Beach, they're going to think, well, that's the last thing we need more of.
When it comes to mothers, the primary responsibility here is to explain that this is about control. The free-for-all is right now, and their kids can already get it way too easily. If we put it in the hands of a seller that will lose their license if they offer it to children, the children are less likely to get it. And quite frankly, if we educate honestly, they're less likely to want it.
Americans are very familiar with pot. Studies show Americans are twice as likely as the Dutch to have tried marijuana, even though the Dutch legalized it years ago. That familiarity extends even to those in the campaign against legalizing it here.
How about yourself? In your past, ever smoked pot?
Yes, and I'll tell you a story. I was in law school at the time, and a friend of mine had left some pot at my apartment.
John Lovell is a Sacramento lobbyist and spokesman for the campaign against legalization. His personal experience with pot was disappointing.
Every stress that was going on in my life was magnified. And I remember sitting there thinking, this is no fun at all.
But he thinks the campaign will be a breeze once people learn more about the initiative to legalize it. For instance,
do you really think it's a good idea to be driving on a highway where the driver can't be smoking? That's a good thing about the initiative. But everybody else in the car can be? I mean, can we spell contact high? I don't think voters are going to be comfortable with those kinds of concepts.
He says legalizing marijuana would make it impossible for California businesses to comply with the federal Drug-Free Workplace Act.
That act is a condition precedent for many federal contracts. If you and I both have bicycle shops, yours is in New Jersey and mine is in California, and we want to build bicycles for the Army, you can comply with the Federal Drug-Free Workplace Act. I can't.
The argument from the other side is that only when pot is legal can it be controlled and regulated. It's when it's illegal that anything goes.
When you prohibit something, you lose control. When you prohibit, you lose the ability to say when, how much, who, and how old.
That's why TOP support Tax Cannabis 2010.
The campaign is just getting underway, but between now and the November vote, it's going to attract attention right across the continent. Keith Oak, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Here in Canada, possessing and smoking marijuana is technically against the law, but the use of medical marijuana is not. As of June 2009, just over 4,000 people were authorized to purchase marijuana for medical use. To get it legally, they must go through Health Canada. It gets the marijuana from a secure underground facility in Manitoba. But if you have authorization to purchase medical marijuana, you can apply to grow it yourself.
All you illegals, obey the law, speak English, salute the flag, and pay your taxes. This is the Lars Larson Show.
Welcome back to the program. 7 before the hour. John Sajo joins us now, head of the Voter Power Group. You're the folks pushing Ballot Measure 74, right, John?
That's correct.
What would 74 do for Oregon?
Measure 74 would add a regulated medical marijuana supply system to our existing medical marijuana law.
Who would grow the pot?
Licensed producers would grow the marijuana. They would sell it to licensed nonprofit dispensaries that would sell it to qualified card-holding patients.
And the growers would get paid?
That's right.
So it would make marijuana a cash crop in Oregon?
Well, I think that happened a long time ago. It would make it a legitimate cash crop.
I see. Well, I should have differentiated. A legal cash crop. And we want to do this. Why? What's the problem now? Because as I understand it, we've got 30 or 40,000 card holders that are all growing gigantic quantities of pot. Where's the shortage of supply?
Well, the problem is that the current law requires patients to either grow their own marijuana or to designate a grower to do it for them.
Yeah.
That works fine for some people, but for many thousands of patients, it just doesn't work. Many people are just too sick to grow for themselves, and really the sickest patients are left behind because they don't know how to find somebody to grow for them and don't have any ability to hold that person accountable.
But all the recreational users find a way to grow it, don't they?
Well, a lot of recreational users grow it for themselves, and a lot of them buy it from the black market, which is what a lot of patients are reduced to doing.
Would you be willing to take medical marijuana back to where it only serves the needs of those who medically need it as opposed to everybody who wants to recreate on an illegal substance?
Well, I think that's marijuana. Currently, medical marijuana is only available for...
John, there are, all the doctors we've ever talked to say there are a couple of thousand people at best who need it for medical reasons, and the other 30 or 40,000 are smoking it for fun.
Well, that's not true. I mean, I don't...
It's not?
No, it's not true at all.
You think there are 30 or 40,000 people with cards who are all growing it because they are medically, because it benefits them medically?
There's over 3,500 different doctors in Oregon have qualified one or more of their patients. And there's plenty of evidence that severe pain is a legitimate medical condition that benefits from medical marijuana.
As I understand it, marijuana is not much of an analgesic. It does change the way your brain interprets things, but it's not much of an analgesic.
No, actually, you're misinformed if that's what you think. There's a tremendous amount of scientific research that shows that marijuana is, in fact, an analgesic that relieves pain. There have been double-blind, placebo-controlled studies that have come out of the California research program that shows that patients that don't know whether they're using marijuana or just a placebo, those studies have shown that the marijuana is effective at relieving pain. In fact, in my email today, I got a report of another study showing that marijuana is effective in relieving pain.
Cannabis has been suspected of helping pain for hundreds of years, and clinical studies have been done for over 30 years showing that it does help pain. So it's not really a breakthrough for pain treatment, but a confirmation that it is effective, and hopefully is actually going to spur additional research on using either cannabis or a chemical from cannabis in treating some types of chronic pain.
So I think a lot of people don't understand that, and we do need more research to understand why. But the scientific evidence is in. Marijuana is a pain reliever.
Before we go, what's your website?
www.regulatemedicalmarijuana.org.
Very good. John Sajo with
A councilman from Dearborn, Michigan is outraged over a 911 call. He wants to know why no charges have been filed against a police officer who admits to confiscating marijuana from suspects and then baking it in brownies. And once he and his wife were full and high, they thought they'd overdosed and called 911.
I think I'm having an overdose, and so is my wife.
Overdose of what?
Marijuana. But I don't know if it had something in it. Can you please send rescue?
Do you guys have fever or anything?
No, I think we're dying.
Okay, how much did you guys have?
I don't know. We made brownies, and I think we're dead. Time is going by really, 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 really slow.
Well, instead of being charged, Perla, sorry. Instead of being charged, the police department let the officer resign. His wife was not charged either. So far, police officials have not commented on the case.
Now, how do you follow a story like that?